Hello everyone, welcome to another installment of Erin's Book Club. I have a book review to do today that has been so refreshing because it's been a while since I've had a book that I was able to read that made me feel the way this one has, and it's one I've never heard of until I did more research on this author that I think is very quickly going to become one of my favorites. So the book review I have to do today is called The Black Gryphon by Mercedes Lackey and Larry Dixon. So I know nothing about Larry Dixon, but Mercedes Lackey is the author that did the Heralds of Voldemort, or whatever it's called, series that I adored. And I thought, maybe she's read other things, and then I find this series that takes place in the same world as the Heralds take place, only it's before the Heralds even happened. And I picked it up thinking that if nothing else, it'll be interesting to read another view on the world before it happened, because I've read one other book of hers that wasn't, I think it wasn't for the Herald ones. It was called Joust. It was about dragon jousting, and I loved it, so I thought it was a good risk. So glad I took this risk. It is so good. I know the cover's kind of stupid, but it's a mass market paperback because a lot of the times that's all I can afford. A lot of the times that's what fits best in my bookshelf. But it's so good. And from this point on, I'm going to actually talk about the book and spoil the book. So if you haven't read it and you do want to read it, go read it and come back. Now you've been warned. The main character, Scandraken, or whatever his name is, the Gryphon character, the introduction to him, going into the enemy camp and winning that attack, kind of outsmarting the enemy, was such a good beginning. And the result of that so early in the book, the end of that so early in the book, intrigued you enough to finish the book, but then the blurb in the back didn't ruin it, so the whole other half of that book was brand new and you were already in the book. Really enjoyed it. I enjoy how this is a war between humans and non-humans, and how the author delved into how humans would treat non-humans or creations of this all-powerful mage, and how these creatures would then feel, and the different idiosyncrasies of each character, the growth of each character. I fell in love with the characters. I didn't even really care that much about the plot because I wanted to learn about what the characters were doing. And this is the first character that is being described as vain and full of himself that I thoroughly enjoyed reading about, mostly because I think his inner thoughts were so self-degrading. So I kind of emphasized with that. The character Winterheart, the amount of growth Winterheart goes to is amazing. The character Amber Drake, who is, I guess, classified as a shaman, but also as a like a neurotic person too. Not necessarily a horror, but someone that does that to help alleviate stress of the camp, and how the character has been made human and vital and intelligent, and even though maybe in an industry that most folk would look down on, he's actually respected and revered here. And just the entire book is so well done. And you spend most of the book trying to figure out how this war is going to be won, because you assume the war is going to be won, and in the end I don't think it was. I think there was a stalemate, and I'm eager to find out what happens in the next book, but I don't think I would call it a won war. It's interesting that they made the Black Gryphon turn into the White Gryphon. That was interesting. It's still gelling. I finished reading it last night, and I've been thinking about it all day long, and it's still gelling. I still don't really know what to think about it other than I love it. So I don't understand why Mercedes Lackey doesn't have more recognition than she does. She seems to be a an author that I never hear about, but her works, all of her works are amazing. And like this author, like the Herald series, she tends to enjoy beating up the characters, and I don't know why. It's hard to read sometimes. This one, like, she beat up the characters, but it was necessary. It wasn't, I'm just gonna beat these characters to beat these characters. Like, I just really enjoyed this book. There were many times where I didn't get the sleep that I needed because I was sitting down and reading this, and there's not enough time in the day. But for all of you guys who are into fantasy and magic and magical creatures, The Black Gryphon is really, this is something everybody should be reading. This is an amazing book. But yeah, I guess that's all I have to say, and I will let you know when I have another book read. Thanks, guys.